to lecture 4 of an introduction to computer science with Python. And today we will be covering input, the command line, and escape characters. So first, input with an open parentheses and close parentheses. Input is like print. It's a keyword, so it already has something and shouldn't be used for a variable name, and it's super cool and important to computer science. And you may find input in calculators, games, websites, and much more. So first, we are going to try some lines. And first, I want you to make a variable called echo equals, and then input, which is in, and then put, open parentheses, and then open quote, enter something to echo. Then I want you to say print, open parentheses, echo. Echo, in this case, is a variable. And you'll see what this does in a second. So run, enter something to echo. I put a bunch of exclamation marks, and it gave me a bunch of exclamation marks. Now, the way I did this was that I put a bunch of stuff here, right? And then I pressed the return key or the enter key, and then it gave me back what I typed in. As you can see, I put this thing in, and it appeared exactly the same here. Now, what's going on? So, just as print takes stuff to the display, input takes stuff from the display. Think of input as the opposite of print, because print, the computer is doing something for the human to see, but in input, the human is doing something, in this case, typing. The human is typing for the computer to take note. And input, like in a more formal definition, is used to receive typed input from the display. If you want a prompt, for example, enter a number between 1 and 5 as a string, you can put that into the parentheses of input. For example, num equals input, open parentheses, open quote, enter a number between 1 and 5, close the quote, and close the parentheses. This looks a lot like print, and that's because, like I said before, print and input are very closely related. Because if you think about it, you can say print hello, and you can also say input hello. Now, of course, they do different things, because print, you don't need anything from the person, but input you do. But that's beside the point. If you don't want a prompt, both input with nothing, with a string with nothing inside of it, with an empty string, so to speak, and input with nothing at all, they will work the same. For example, I can say input, and it's waiting for me to do something. I can say hello, and it'll give me a string that has hello in it. And I can also similarly do input with open and close quotes, and this won't have anything inside of it, but it'll be complete. So I can do the same thing, hello. For the most part, input has a similar format to print, at least when typing it out like here. It's somewhat the same, somewhat similar. It is not the same. So I used some new vocabulary last slide. For example, here I bolded them. One of them is prompt, and one of them is the word return. So now, for those that don't know, a prompt is a word or sentence or some other form of text and string that tells the user what to do. For example, an example would be username followed by a box to put in your username or the Google search page. What I mean by this is that I can go here and I can say search Google or type a URL. This search Google or type a URL is a prompt because it tells me what this is for. Now, the word return means that when the computer goes about and simplifies this word input, when the computer simplifies this, it becomes, it simplifies, it becomes the returned thing. This is very advanced, and we'll go over again in a few lectures when your understanding of Python is a lot more solid. Now, I want to move on to something called the command line. And the command line is this dark blue box. I was actually using this dark blue box to do some stuff like print hello, input hello, blah, blah, blah. What this does is that it's a lot like this. It's a lot like that. But a few key differences, as you can see, statements are checked one line at a time. For example, this one, it did it all by itself, even though it was 2 lines. But if I were to do it here, echo equals input, enter something to echo, you see that it immediately did it. Before, this would run, and then this would run. But here, this would run. This is understood. The computer translates this, then the computer translates this, then it runs this, and it runs this. In this case, the computer translates this and then runs it right after. So that's an important difference. Statements are checked one line at a time. So now enter something to echo. I can take in echo. Then I can say print echo. So another thing is that expressions are no longer ignored. Instead, the computer prints the expression. For example, if I typed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as an int, it'll just give me the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I did it here, however, as you can see, nothing would really happen. See, it just stopped. How do you know it stopped? Well, you have these 3 orange dots, and these 3 orange dots means that something before that stopped. So that's it on the command line. Depending on the situation, it may be better to use the command line, but in general, you want to use this code window as it saves your progress. But the command line doesn't, it just gives you short things to see. But you can take the command line a bit further, because since it can show any expression, you can also just do math things here. So you can do like 5 plus 2. It'll give you 7, because the computer takes 5 plus 2, it evaluates it, it takes a look at it, and it shows a 7. If I did 5 plus 2 here, you wouldn't see much happen. See, nothing happened. So putting it there, it doesn't really matter. But if I put it here, I can actually use it. That being said, normal calculator apps like this are a lot more straightforward, and people have already done put in a lot of coding into that. So using this as your calculator is cool, but it's not super necessary. But you can still do stuff with it. You can also experiment, like say 55 plus 55 would give you 5555 because they're both in strings. Anyways, so here's a note. In Python, single quotes and double quotes do the same thing. For example, shiny will give me shiny. Double quote, shiny, double quote will give me shiny as well. But the reason that I've been saying to use double quotes is that when you transfer to other languages, double quotes and single quotes do different things. So you want to get into the habit of using double quotes. Don't use single quotes unless if you've got a very, very good reason, and you probably don't. Like I said, not all languages are like this, so stick to double quotes. In addition to this, multi-line comments can be used with single quotes and double quotes. So multi-line comments may look something like this, but you can use single quotes too. Multi-line. As you can see, both of these are fine, and they are comments, and the computer ignores them. In strings, the backslash character is very important in doing many things, and the most important one is backslash n, which creates a new line. Now, to demonstrate this, I'm going to print A, print B, and print C. As you can see, it kind of makes sense that it would look like this. A, and then on a new line, B, and then on a new line, C. Now, what if I wanted to accomplish the same thing, except put them all in one print statement? These three print statements by themselves, stinky. I don't want this to happen. I want them on all on the same print statement. That means I only want one of these. I don't want three of these. I only want to see print once. Now the way I would do this is that, okay, how would I get a new line so that B appears on a different line than A? Well, one, I can just spam spaces, but that doesn't work, because what if I suddenly pulled a fast one and did this? Well, all of a sudden B might appear somewhere here instead. So that's not going to work. I don't want that. I want to use the backslash n. Now, backslash n will give me a new line without any fuss. Backslash n, B. Backslash n, C. And now this will produce the same output as this. So I can do this, and to show that it's the same, I can still print A, print B, and print C. And as you can see, ABC, ABC, it's the same thing. So backslash n gives me a new line, and it's also called a return key. So when I'm typing it normally, it may look like A, return B, return C. That's essentially what the computer is doing. Now, there are two more important things about backslash that you must know. One is that, let's say you've got a quote that you want to say. So I can Ben said hi. Now this presents a problem, because what I wanted to say is Ben said hi. I want this exact thing to appear here. Now let's try running it, because so what this would be is that this thing matches this thing. So you would think that it would work, right? Wrong. Because when the computer is taking a look at the string, a string ends when this appears again. So the computer is going to keep reading until it finds this character, the double quote. So it's going to be da 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 da, and then it finds this. So then it stops. It stops, and this is your string. Then this hi with an exclamation mark, the computer doesn't know what to do here. It's not part of a string, so the computer has to see if hi is a variable. And exclamation mark, what does the computer do about that? So what you want to do is that for these that look like they're the end of a string, you want to add a backslash in front of it. Now what this will do is that it will tell the computer to ignore this being the end of the string. Now I don't have to do it here. I also have to do it here, like this. Now, the computer reads this, and it ignores. The computer reads this, and it ignores. And then the computer reads this, and it's the end of the string. And now this will actually run fine. Now, here is a good place where you may need to use single quotes, because if you said print, oopsies, single quote, Ben said hi. This would work fine too. But you may want to use escape characters either way, because what if you had both of them in the same string? For example, hi, I am my mom's child. Well, that's a problem, because when I said moms, I had this here, this and this. The computer takes this and realizes that it's the end of the string. That's not what you want. So what you want to do instead is add a backslash in front of it. And then this will run fine. So as you can see, in some cases, you can avoid using this backslash stuff by changing how your string looks, but sometimes you can't. So you may need to use the backslash so that the computer knows that you don't want to finish the string just yet. So another important backslash thing, this is the last thing about backslashes, I promise, is that let's say I'm typing up a Python tutorial and I want to say use \n to create a new line. Now this is a problem because it'll look like this. I want it to look like actual \n. I want this to be a real thing, not just a new line. So the way I would do this is that I would make this. Do you know how when the computer was reading this, there was a backslash in front of this, so it ignored? Well, you can do the same thing with normal backslashes too. If you have two backslashes, the computer will read this second one, see that there was another backslash in front of it, and therefore ignore it and treat it as an actual backslash. So now this will actually give me \n. Use \n to create a new line is a true statement. As you can see, backslashes are a bit weird and finicky, but once you get used to them, you can do many things. For example, you can make your code shorter. This is a lot shorter than printing A, B, and C separately. Anyways, I believe, there's a little bit more, but we will get to that next lecture because this has gone on for 18 minutes, which is a bit too long. Anyways, I will see you in a lecture shortly. Thank you for your attention and time.